Hip to be Square, by Andrew Still, Spencer Bryant, Craig Hoffling. Squares holds a competitive advantage by being a differentiator, charging low fees, shaping customer perception, incorporating their innovative technology, and the convenience and versatility for consumers who use Square. Square acts as a payment aggregator, offering a transparent fee structure and lower cost of entry. Providing services as an acquiring bank allowed them to reach sufficient scales of transactional volume at low cost. Square requires few equipment costs, but the card reader attachment is free, leaving no upfront cost, and because it uses an iPhone or iPad, it is perfect for retailers with temporary premises. Charging prospective clients a transparent fee of 15 cents plus 2.75%, which is typically a good rate. They keep systems humming, which drives more transactions across a fixed cost base. No monthly fees or contracts, and the money is in your account automatically the next morning. Having an easy-to-set-up merchant account allows anyone to process credit card payments. If you aren't familiar with accepting credit card payments, it generally requires expensive point-of-sale equipment, high merchant fees especially if you are a smaller provider, and most likely have difficult contract terms. Unlike most corporations, by owning their own merchant account and only charging fees for business transactions and bank transfers allows small fees to be eliminated. Consumers want the convenience of paying for things with their phones, but not much has been done to demonstrate what that convenience is. Entering the Square card reader into the headphone jack of any cell phone or tablet creates easy accessibility, allowing credit or debit transactions to be processed through Square's software. Square reduces some of this risk by having the whole transaction take place in front of the customer. For first-time users, the card is swiped and then they sign the screen of the iPad or iPhone. Additionally, Square builds trust with security, having consumers immediately get a text or email of the transaction. This transparency and reassurance is important for a small, mobile vendor who can't provide the trust level that a brick-and-mortar store might normally have. Originally, the primary value proposition of Square was to the vendor. But Square made accepting credit or debit payments simple and possible for small vendors, which is a huge untapped market. Using the value chain method, the marketing and sales techniques allowed small business owners and entrepreneurs access to their platform with little to no risk. With outbound logistics, Square also moved mainstreaming their product in major retail stores. Attracting large merchants to Square is good for business. But they also constitute a much more demanding, and ultimately more price-sensitive, market. Companies, ranging from tech startups to independent sales organizations to big corporations such as Walmart, Best Buy, and Apple have signed deals for Square Card Reader. Using the value chain, Square's innovative technology has allowed them to offset and shut out competition. Square is beneficial to all consumers connected to the Square Card users. Offering easy-to-use analytical software made Square Card more convenient for clients at low cost. Square Register is an app that provides a high-end style point of sale on the iPad. This gives vendors the type of information about their customers that usually only comes from an enterprise-level POS, analytical data such as rich data on goods sold, buying habits, etc. CardCase is the consumer partner to Square Register. It provides consumers information on each of the businesses they use, maps of locations, purchase history, contact info. Once you arrive at the store, you can pay with a Use tab on your iPhone and it pushes a payment notification to the merchant. No cash changes hands and you don't even have to swipe a card. Square's buyers are merchants, such as Walmart, Best Buy, Apple, etc. Small business owners, which Square is mainly geared towards by reducing the customer costs and risks using their product. Coffee shops, such as Starbucks. Entrepreneurs, which is an individual starting up their own business. MasterCard is considered their biggest competitor ever since they released their product called PayPass, which enables them to use RFID cards. PayPass was also the first contact system ever used, created in the year of 2005. Credit cards no longer need to be used, allowing them to become popular with both consumer and merchants. In order to compete, Visa launched its own NFC payment system. After installing the app, users with NFC enabled. This was similar to MasterCard's PayPass, but it offered no virtual wallet functionality. The Business in a Box by Square is a product that has a cash drawer, 2 Square card readers, an iPad stand, and a receipt printer for $299. It also offers a new option to companies that don't take credit or debit cards. The Business in a Box helps Square sell their product to businesses that need a card reader but does not need it to be portable, and also gives an upgrade to the traditional cash register, but requires an iPad. Square's Business in a Box expands Square's strategic position. It allows Square to not only be a mobile card reader for small business, but to also be a card reader for small business in their stores and shops. This allows Square to become an alternative other means of payment collection in the stores of small business. The Business in a Box offers a new high-tech alternative to the cash register. The new Square product offers everything a cash register plus a card reader and compatibility to new technology like the iPad, which allows small business to keep an electronic track of their sales. The Business in a Box may introduce Square to companies who may not have thought of Square as a pure card reader, but more of a mobile product. It also will ensure anyone using the product must use Square card readers. In the industry of merchant services, firms were developing products supporting mobile payments. Majority of firms focused their efforts on the side of the consumer, offering different methods of payment, but its use was limited, requiring the participations of merchants. Square devised a new strategy targeting small business owners. It created its own merchant account, taking the place of an acquiring bank, allowing businesses to accept credit card payments on its account. With no charger for the card reader and lower monthly fees it offered created lower costs for businesses. Square partnered with Starbucks and processed all credit and debit card transactions. Partnering with Starbucks shifted its business to support a higher volume of transaction, increasing Square's revenue and scale of business. Square also received an investment from Visa for an undisclosed amount. The resources-based value allocates a firm's resources into 3 different categories: physical capital resources, human capital resources, and organizational resources. For a resource to create a competitive advantage, it needs to be valuable, rare, imperfectly imitable, and organized to capture value. Square's physical resources is the technology and design of its card reader, which allowed consumers to connect the reader directly to their phone through the headphone port. The design was innovative, but it was not imperfectly imitable. Existing firms and new entrants were able to imitate Square's product. Square understood the value was not at the product itself, which is why they offered it free to customers. The value was in the service it provided and at a cost that was lower than competitors. For Square to maintain a competitive advantage, it needs to focus on its organizational and human capital resources. After reviewing all the information and considering the alternative strategies, we prioritized them in the following order based the RBV analysis with expanding customer base by moving into adjacencies. Priority 1. Expanding Square's product offering to existing customers seems to be a viable option and feedback from merchants was extremely positive. Supplying merchants with a point-of-sale register at a low startup cost increase buyer value. Square outsources all manufacturing and assembly of the Business in a Box besides the Square reader. Outsourcing could be cheaper than vertical integration and builds supplier and channel partner relationships. Monetizing transactional data will expand Square's services to its customers and provide them with resources to increase performance and decision-making ability. It has the potential to be an advantage if Square is the only firm providing such data, but is not sustainable if other firms can imitate this activity. Firms like Azetel and Inuit's Go Payment offer the same services as Square in the United States and Europe, which may hinder Square's room for growth. Offering additional and user-focused services would not create a sustainable competitive advantage, considering PayPal is planning to provide users with the same services. International expansion may be difficult, with Rivals being recognized by the UK Financial Services Authority as authorized payment institutions and the differences in popularity of smartphone platforms. What gives Square a competitive advantage is not a single resources. It is the combination of them all and planning efforts performed by management to use these resources in the most efficient and effective way to deliver the best value to its buyer. The direction of Square's business is shifting towards moving into adjacencies. Relationships with Starbucks and other firms has allowed Square to expand the scale of its business. Proving its business model can be effective for businesses with a higher volume of transactions. For Square, relationships of this stature are an extremely valuable resources to the performance of its business. It is considered rare in that its rivals may have merchants that accept their payment method, but Square's takes overall credit and debit card transaction of its merchants. Rivals and new entrants could find it difficult to obtain this form partnership and imitate the same activities, which has created a sustainable competitive advantage for Square.